Boom, coming in hot, Chinch. What's going on, brother?
We are coming in super hot today. Here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, what we are about to do on this show, I think I've been in this industry for a couple decades right now. I don't think anybody's done on television. I don't think anybody's done in a digital world. And it's all Sean Casey's idea. This man is not only a 300 hitter, he is now an executive producer type with a great brain for it. And what was your idea? And what is this episode all about?
Dude, we're trying to bring the best content from the mayor's office to all the people out there, all the fans. This, my buddy Dwayne Reeder runs the Roberto Clemente Museum in downtown Pittsburgh. It's one of the coolest places ever. And I figured with the 50th anniversary of Clemente's 3,000 hit coming up, we had to go down there, hear from Dwayne, hear how awesome it is, how so many people have visited it, and so many good stories. So, Chinch, this episode is going to be awesome. We walked around the museum. He showed us some unbelievable stuff. If anybody on this episode, obviously a lot of people listen to us on Spotify, Apple, and stuff. If you can watch this one on YouTube, you will be blown away by some of the stuff on this video.
All right, without further ado, yeah, the case is fired up. Here it is.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I wore this shirt today. Is this heaven? You know, this is from the Field of Dreams game, Field of Dreams movie. But I tell you what, the reason I wore it today is because this is heaven in Pittsburgh. The Roberto Clemente Museum, Engine 25, this is heaven. And the guy that's created heaven in this city is my man, Dwayne Reeder. Dwayne, how you doing, brother?
All right.
So
Great,
good to
Sean.
see you, man. This is my favorite place in this city. This is so many different people's favorite place.
Eddie Vedder's favorite
Eddie Vedder,
place.
yes. We had a great night. We brought Ed down, had some wine, some cigars, had a great time. What a great night. So many great people. We had that great dinner with Maz and Grilly and Jeff Amon and Steve Blass. What an unbelievable night. Then Garrett Cole, Morneau, and those guys all came. Jason Grilly came down. Yeah, incredible. But I want to start with you a little, Dwayne. You know, before we get going to Clemente and how unbelievable this place is, and why did you start the Roberto Clemente Museum here in Pittsburgh?
I mean, everything in this whole building is geared towards photography.
Right.
So my photography bought the building, the studio. It renovated the building, and when I'm renovating the building, I'm hanging out with Vera Clemente, working on a calendar project. Right. And so through my photography, I'm now becoming friends with the Clemente family. And when I'm in Puerto Rico, I notice that everything in their house, and just like today, because Puerto Rico's getting hit by a hurricane and tropical storms, and it's nonstop for those poor people down there. And she had gotten hit by Hugo, hit the island in '89 and flooded her basement, and her photos were all like soggy, like really wet. And so I said to Vera, I was like, first of all, don't throw them out, because we need to find the photographers, track down the negatives. You know, I'll start buying film, and I can help you with like an archive. So for 10 years, it was just photography related. And then in 2006, she wanted me to host the Clemente family party here in this building.
Wow.
And I was so honored, and I really felt bad for her. I think most of her life, you know, after Roberto was gone, a lot of people started taking advantage of her.
Right.
And she was so nice and so easygoing and so generous that she would give things away and hope that they would come back, and they would never come back.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say I'm the first person, because there's plenty of family members that gave stuff back, but she could trust me. I would give things back to her in better shape than they were.
Right. Wow.
And so I got those photos downstairs from the White House when Richard Nixon's creating the Citizens Medal for her. I got the originals and gave them to her, and she thought it was a miracle. And you know, that's kind of what really helped this place get going.
Yeah. So what was the first year that you? So can you just talk about this place in general? This is an old firehouse, right? And then engine house 25.
Yep.
And can you talk about that a little bit, about what this was, and also that there's a Lou Gehrig story here somewhere too. Can you take us that? What's the history of this place and how cool that is?
Well, when I buy the building in 1994 off the city, it was a condemned firehouse. It was left to be knocked down. They were actually going to knock it down.
Wow.
And they knocked 12 firehouses down that were like this one, because they couldn't get the hook and ladder trucks inside. So the buildings fell apart. The kids bust out the windows. So when I buy it, it's condemned. And I just wanted it for my photography studio. There was no dream of a Clemente museum or a winery or anything. It was just my photography space. And I start remodeling it and bring it back to life. And as we're remodeling the building, we're doing research on the property, And we find out that in 1927, when Murderers Row is in Pittsburgh, beating the tar out of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that's Ruth and Gehrig, as you know.
Right.
Lou Gehrig sneaks away. It says, well, Babe Ruth hobnobbing with the rich of Pittsburgh at the William Penn Hotel. Humble Lou Gehrig sneaks out to Engine House 25 and spends the weekend with his best friend Zip Sloan, who was a right-handed pitcher for the Tigers, but he blew out his shoulder, had to come back here and be a fireman.
Wow.
And so Lou Gehrig sleeps in this firehouse, and then when I start building the Clemente Museum, there's only 2 guys that ever bypassed the 5-year waiting list of the Hall of Fame, and it's Lou Gehrig and Roberto Clemente.
Chills.
So it's like,
Oh my God.
if it was Babe Ruth, it'd be cute. It'd be a
Right.
cool baseball story, but it's Gehrig. They both die about the same age, 38 years old.
Right.
You know, they were both these generous, really good-hearted people, and so they had a lot in common. So when we find out it was Lou Gehrig slept here, we literally stopped moving anything out of this building. We kept it as original as possible.
Wow. Incredible story. Well, before we head downstairs, I want to show everybody the Clemente Museum and just the awesome things that you've done here and why it's such, like I said, why it's heaven for the people here in Pittsburgh. But also, you know, anyone that comes to Pittsburgh, if you came here, you would think the same thing. But the first time we ever met Dwayne was back in 1999 when you have this book. I don't know if you can see this picture right here, but this picture right here of that Dwayne took. You had that old school camera. And I remember thinking to myself, you were on the field, and obviously you're a photographer first. You know, your photos are incredible. You're world renowned. And I remember seeing this old school camera you had, and I was like, man, that camera's really cool. And you're like, can I take a couple shots? I was like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, you have so many cool people in this book that you have. Like, could you talk about that? And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, that's been, for me, that's been the connection to baseball, Clemente. Everything I do in this building is going down on the field, and when I meet you, we became buddies. Right?
Yeah.
We became, you know, there was this like bond, and my goal is to talk about Clemente then, and kind of, so by shooting the portraits of players, it gives me a minute or two to talk to them.
Yeah.
Then I would make a print. I gave you prints.
Yeah.
The next year, I wait a whole year, I make a handmade print and hand it to all these guys in this book, and that's when I maybe say, hey, would you want to come see? I'm building this museum. I mean, I brought Vinny Castilla here as my first person I brought over one night.
Really?
Yeah, I had an old bottle of Dago Red back before 9/11. You could carry wine into the locker room.
Yeah.
And Mingy would let me go into the locker room, and I would take some of the guys that like wine, a little bottle of my homemade wine,
Right.
and I would say, hey, after the game, here's my number, call me, come over and see back then I had 10 Clemente things.
Right.
And a couple bottles of wine.
Wow.
And I'd bring them over, and if I could shoot a portrait or something better here with my lighting.
Right.
So that's kind of how it's all woven together, and it's all through my photography. And then my love of baseball and standing down on the field waiting patiently for one guy on each team that might be a Clemente guy, a wine guy, somebody who's into photography. Some of the guys were really into photography. They
Wow.
just start shooting and talking Hasselblad
Yeah.
camera. They'd want to hold the Hasselblad and like be like enamored by this thing. And it takes beautiful photos.
Yeah, incredible, man, incredible. Well, dude, this is such a. Before we get going,
Yeah.
what's this picture right here? The Steelers.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Was that after? What was that right after?
That was that's Spygate. We lose this game.
Oh, that's the Spygate.
That's Spygate. Yeah, they were cheating.
Yeah.
Those darn
Patriots.
Yeah. And we're going to lose that game. And I wanted to get that photo. That's Ben's rookie year. We win 16 in a row.
Wow.
Think of that.
Wow.
Back in the good old days.
Yeah.
And the Roonies hired me to be a photographer in the locker room and stick with Jerome Bettis because they thought he could retire at any
his last
moment.
year. Yeah.
And so Jerome Bettis gives a tour here one night to about 20 guys that came from ESPN radio or something. They were with him for some project. And he's telling the story saying, this is the greatest Steeler photo ever taken. And you know why Dwayne gets it? And everybody was like, no. He goes, because of me.
That's what he said.
He goes, old man Rooney says, you stick with Dwayne, you stick with Jerome, and you get the photos of everything that he does. So he goes, he gets that photo because of me. And
Which
it was
is
like,
true.
Oh, it was.
I got you in there.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is Jerome Bettis is holding hands with Troy Polamalu, two of the toughest, grinding out football players in history. They're holding hands. And they're saying the Our Father prayer.
Wow.
And I call it the Our Father. I wasn't going to change like the you know, and call it something else.
Right.
I'm calling it exactly what it was.
Yeah.
The Steelers have always said the Our Father prayer before every Steeler football game, starting all the way back to the Chief on day one.
Wow.
And so it's got some history.
Incredible.
And I happened to be in there and get that shot.
Yeah.
And then went viral and actually saved the Clemente Museum.
Why?
Kelly Fry on Channel 4 did a story on me about this image, and I was having some tax issues here. And that went viral, and people were busting my door down trying to get in here and buy a print of it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's one hanging in Upper St. Clair School. That I was giving them to people.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta get one of those in my
You
house.
need one in your house.
That's great, man.
That's
incredible.
That was God saving the
It's
museum.
the museum.
That's
Yeah, a lot of
Roberto
cool things
going,
have happened.
There's too many good
I
things.
know, dude. I know the stories. Well, what I want to do now, man, let's go downstairs and let's show everybody, you know, what really is going on here at the Clemente Museum. And there's a couple levels to look at and some good stories, and we'll take it.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so Dwayne, this place is so many cool things, so many artifacts, so many pictures, so many stories. And I think that's what I love about the Clemente Museum so much is the stories, and especially the stories that you tell. But there's a couple focal points in this place that are pretty obvious. And I think it might be, this picture is probably one of the most obvious things. You walk right in here, bam, you have this picture.
Boom.
What is the significance of this picture?
Yeah. Well, the main thing is I get to show it to Vera Clemente and 30 Clementes for our grand opening for the first time. That image was never published in a newspaper or magazine. It was taken out of a dumpster when the Post-Gazette's buying the Pittsburgh Press. And so just that it made it into a dumpster is crazy.
So how did it get out of that dumpster?
So when the Post-Gazette buys the building and they tell everybody that worked for the press, take your personal belongings and get out. We're going to gut this whole building. Everything's going in the trash. Right. So they start loading these dumpsters lined up on the Boulevard of the Allies downtown. Yeah. And this old timer heard that they were doing this, and he's like, I'm going to get up there, and he's dumpster diving. Yeah. And so he's up in there in the evenings with a flashlight, and he's pulling negatives and different things out of the dumpster. What? And hears that I started the archive to help the Clemente family. So this is now before the museum opens in 2006. This is just for the archive. He hears that I've got this going. He comes to the door, knocks on my door, and says he wants to sell the shoebox full of negatives from the 1950s and 60s. And I know what those negatives are all about, because remember the old-fashioned camera that I'm shooting you with? Yeah. That's what they were. So when I see them, I almost have a stroke. And I happened to grab this one by chance, and I held it up to the window, and I said, oh man, that's going to make a beautiful print. I don't see the angel wings. I just see negative, I just see clouds. And I'm like, holy cow. And so we started making prints here, and we're like, wow, we got a winner. So I get to show that to Vera Clemente and the Clemente sons for the first time ever. So could you imagine if that was your dad and someone shows you that shot? You'd be like,
it's incredible.
Yeah.
But look at those angel wings. I mean, I think that's the thing about it. Is like the angel wings of the clouds.
And the hand and the ball and the feet. Look at the feet. They're off the ground. So everything, it's like he's not jumping. Like Maz, we've got shots of Maz and all the other pirates. They're jumping and their legs are bent and it looks like they're trying to jump. He looks like he's floating maybe up to heaven or something. Wow. And it's 1960 and it's in Fort Myers, Florida. So it's a doozy.
That's a doozy, man. That's incredible. There's another unbelievable piece in there too. It's on the other side of us. Let's walk over.
Okay.
Maybe tell us what this piece is, because this is incredible.
Yeah.
And this is just donated. This was donated.
Yeah. Well, yes. Carlos Beltran is hanging out with me when he's on the Cardinals, and he's bringing some Puerto Rican guys, and they're like, "Hey, you don't have a lot from Puerto Rico here." I'm like, no, I live in Pittsburgh. I get things in the Pittsburgh dumpsters. Right. And the Pittsburgh,
we got to go down the Boulevard of the Allies and get stuff.
And get our stuff. And I can't leave and go to Puerto Rico and search for Clemente things. So he goes, hey, what are you looking for? And I was like, I need a Puerto Rican flag. And 1,000 Puerto Ricans came and said they were going to get me the Puerto Rican flag, and none of them ever did. But Beltran goes back with his buddy, who's an architect, and they're building Carlos's baseball fields, where he's got his baseball academy now in Puerto Rico. Right. And this architect's like, I'm going to help you. I loved Clemente. So they send me a flag, and it's upstairs, and it's beautiful, from the 50s, gorgeous. Wow. It comes in the mail, and I'm so excited. Finally, I got a Puerto Rican flag. Right. And then the next day, when I'm thanking him by phone, a phone photo comes of this.
And he says, do you want this? And that's a propeller from the plane that Roberto dies in.
Wow.
It's powerful.
Wow.
That's powerful.
That's powerful right
Yeah.
there. That is so powerful. Can you take us back to that?
Yeah.
Go back to the plane, just back to the history about that flight. And,
Yeah.
you know, and I know you had talked about, too, about that Roberto had dreams about a plane going down and him being on it. And
Yeah.
he had talked to Vera for years about that. And can you just take us back to that story?
Yeah, and that's
the
why
history
all
of that?
those stories are why that's important to be here.
Right.
You know, because it's basically his whole life, his whole adult life. Once he becomes a pirate, he starts having these dreams and maybe it's because he's now flying off the island a lot back and forth, and he's seeing the water, and something's in his head that he's going to die in a plane crash in the ocean and his body would never be found. And all three of those things come true. And the day he meets Vera in 1964, he says, Vera, we have to hurry up and get married and have the kids. God has a plan for me. I'm not going to live that long. And she says yes. So like a knucklehead, I say to her, okay, why do you say yes to that? I have to ask you, why do you say yes to that? And she said, well, Dwayne, if Roberto thought God's plan for him was to die young and do, you know, my plan, God's plan for me was to help Roberto build the family and help him as long as I could before he goes. And I'm like,
Oh, my gosh.
okay. Wow. So she says yes. They get married right away. They have the 3 boys, bing, bang, boom.
Right.
The first 2 are Irish twins.
Right.
They're 11 months apart.
Right. Roberto Jr.
So Junior, Luis, and Ricky.
And Ricky, okay.
Yeah, 3 awesome kids. They're part of, this place. Luis is on our board of directors here. Roberto's here in Pittsburgh and comes around quite a bit. And now has little RC3, the cutest kid on the planet.
So cute. Saw him the other day when we did at the Roberto Clemente Day at City Field. He
throws
threw
out
the first pitch.
pitch. The kid's going to be a superstar.
So great.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so that's, this whole thing's going with the family. He's dreaming these dreams. Roberto Jr. is holding on to him when they're going to go to the airport the last day of his life. Right. And what's crazy is this plane is crashed into the ditch of the San Juan Airport a month before the earthquake even happens. That plane was sold for parts. It was never to be flown. And now it's crashed again because a motor keeps conking out on it. And it says when it hit the ditch that day, blocked the runway for 5 hours, that 2 propellers hit the dirt and got bent. And it said he had it towed into the hangar bay and hammered out the propellers with a hammer. Nobody hits a hammer onto a freaking propeller from an airplane.
Right.
You're supposed to buy a new propeller.
Yeah. You're supposed to not to fly that plane.
Right.
Never.
It's done. They hammered it out. That propeller right there has 30 or 40 hammer marks on it. Right there. If you look down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it has a cracked gear on the bottom. And so that propeller's like I call it twice cursed because that big bend is when it hits the ocean. So so that plane gets going and gets barely off the runway, clips the palm trees, and goes into the ocean shortly off the shore. And that's what happens when you hit the water. So to have it here, it proves that they found pieces of the plane. They never found Roberto's body, but they found pieces of the plane at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
And so for us to be able to we want to tell the real story, the truth. Because a lot of people, they'll raise their hand before I had this. Hey, buddy, they never found that plane. No, they did find the plane. So now that I have this, I can go, they found the plane.
They never found Roberto.
They never found Roberto or 3 of the other crew members. They found the pilot was strapped to the cockpit seat when they pulled the fuselage up out of the water.
Wow.
So just that's here is a miracle. Yeah. And I can complete the story and show people, and talk details about that plane.
Yeah.
So pretty incredible.
Incredible. Just 2 amazing things right when you walk in this place.
Yeah.
We're rolling.
Yeah. Now we're serious.
Yeah, now we're serious, yeah. So Dwayne, one of the big reasons that we're doing the Mayor's Office podcast this week with you is that it's the 50th anniversary of Clemente's 3,000th hit coming up, I believe, September 30th.
Yeah.
And you have an awesome display here of that 3,000th hit. Can you take us through?
Yeah.
And I know this is a new piece because I've been coming here for years, and I'm like, oh, Dwayne, what's going on here? So. Take us through this.
And it's always nice to put something new up on the wall because then people that come here over and over and over, like you have, you get to see something new.
It's incredible, yeah.
And so the timing on this, 50th year anniversary of the 3,000th hit, September 30th.
Hang on, before we go, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Talk about this right here. This is Stargell?
Yep. Stargill's going to help him pick the bat. He's already having a kind of a freaking out about the bat he's going to use because Louisville Slugger wants to give him 3,000 silver dollars if he gets the 3,000th hit with their bat.
Right.
And the bat boy brings out a bat that had been shaved off Adirondack.
Right.
And they don't
You
want
have that bat here,
and
right?
I have that bat. We're going to go look at it.
So he wanted to use this Louisville Slugger one.
To get the 3,000 silver dollars to give to poor kids. So
even when he's going for his 3,000th hit, he's still thinking about other people.
Charity.
He's still thinking charity.
But he's hitting with this Adirondack. He's loving that Adirondack because it was 37 and a half ounces. He's 38 years old now.
Right.
He walks up there with a 38 ouncer
right.
and gets the hit. But because Stargill picked it and said, hit this one.
And as a big league player, you know, that those not only the ounces matter, the 0.1, 0.2 ounces. I used to get bats of 34, 31.2, 32.1. You know, so that when you're going two ounces more, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's even cooler because you go from 36 to 38, get your 3,000th hit.
And he gets it. He gets it. He's the 11th player in MLB history to get the 3,000th hit.
Yeah,
That's
isn't that
incredible.
crazy? And the number 11, I was telling you this, number 11 is if you looked it up, signifies, you know, God is with you, you know, the Spirit. And so I just think that's even more incredible.
How perfect for him.
Yeah.
That he's the 11th to get his
Yeah.
3,000, and then he dies with exactly 3,000 hits. And when players today get to the 3,000, that's like the monumental moment in your career, and you're tying Roberto Clemente. And so to have the exact 3,000. So for us, this scoreboard right here, we've got all these new photos of Roberto holding the bat in the locker room. Right. Now we're hopefully getting that bat on the 30th.
You're going to get that bat? Who has that bat?
That bat is down in Florida, a guy named Bob Schilling.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm not messing his name up. Yeah, he's had it for a long time. He's been photo matching it. I sent him this photo, and when he saw that photo, he had a stroke. Wow. And he knew he had the 3,000 hit bat.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because he gives out 5 different bats that day. So he gives one to the Hall of Fame, but the one that's in the Hall of Fame, that's been there for 50 years, is like a brand new bat. It has no pine tar, it has no cleat marks, it's got no ball marks.
They say it's the 3,000th hit?
And they say it's the 3,000th hit. But now that we found it, they said they're going to change their plaque now that we have proof that we have the 3,000th hit backed. So this is awesome.
That's so cool. This is amazing.
So come out and see this exhibit for sure, because we're going to have an open house on the 30th of September.
Okay, open house on the 30th. How can people get involved as far as like, you know, donations and stuff like that to this place?
Yeah, if you go to just ClementeMuseum.com, if you go to our website, there's a place where to donate. You can donate for just regular causes at the museum. We're trying to raise money for an elevator.
Right.
We're not handicap accessible to that second floor.
Okay. We will be eventually.
We're going to have an elevator, and the next year it will be built. We have almost enough money. We still need a little bit to push us over the top due to COVID and all the money problems and gas and steel and all that. The quotes got a little high, but now things are coming down, and we're going to keep raising money till we can get that elevator built.
Great, man. Great, awesome. This place is incredible. Can we go over here?
Yeah, let's go.
Because you talked about that bat over there, and you talked about the Adirondack that he really liked. Yeah. It turns out you have that bat, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna actually open this and let you swing it.
Dude, could I?
So this is it.
Oh my gosh.
So that's his favorite bat in life. In that moment.
The pine tar.
Yeah. And they shaved the blue stripe off, right? So
God, dude, I'm feel weird holding this thing. This is incredible.
And so that they usually have the blue stripe on.
Right. So they shaved off the blue stripe here.
Yeah. The trainer, Tony Barterone, came up with this idea. Yeah. He starts shaving it off. Somebody pulls a hammy. He has to go into the training room and work on this guy's hamstring. And Doc Ellis.
Of course, Doc Ellis.
He just shaved the rest of it off. But Roberto, I think, just did not want to swing it at that moment because he really wanted to get the 3,000 silver dollars
to give to the kids,
and didn't want to deceive Louisville. He thought if that's how he's going to get the hit with the Louisville Slugger.
Good for him, man.
So,
wow. Well,
pretty
of course,
awesome.
Vintage Roberto Clemente, integrity, principles, virtues.
Yep.
This is incredible. Oh my gosh. So what's the weight on this?
That one's 37 and a half.
Dude, if anyone in the big league swung this today, they're already hitting 220. We'd be having guys hitting 120. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, this thing is an absolute log.
That's a log.
How you get around on it.
Yeah.
So this is how many inches is this?
36 inches.
So it's a 36.
36, 37 and a half.
36, 37 and a half.
This one's 39.
That's 39.
That one's 38. So this is the famous Les Banos bat. I've had this Les Banos bat here for 25 years.
Okay.
Not really knowing that it was that
So
significant.
what's this one?
That's 38 ounces.
Oh my God, this thing.
Yeah,
is,
that's
this
a
thing
log.
Is so heavy.
And you can ask Albert Pujols and Manny Machado and
They've all
Bryce
swung-
Harper. They've all swung
they've
that
all
bat.
swung this.
And they say nobody in the world could hit that bat.
That's what I was saying. To put it in perspective, most big leaguers nowadays, I know Ken Griffey Jr. maybe started it when he was swung a 34-inch, 31-ounce.
Yeah.
You know, this is a 38-ounce,
38,
36
6-inch.
That's incredible. And
Yeah.
Dave Parker told me that one time. He said, me and Stargell used to sing at 37-40.
Yeah.
I mean, guys couldn't get around with that nowadays,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But it's incredible. So to put that in perspective, most big leaguers are swinging probably 34, 32s, 33 and a half, 31 and a half, you know, a 2-ounce difference. To swing a 36, 38, that's unheard
Yeah.
of. That's unheard of. And the handles, look at the handles, how unique that handle is.
Yeah, with the knobless.
With the knobless.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see that. Like Jeff McNeil.
Yeah.
Jeff McNeil for the Mets. He chokes up with a knobless hand.
Because of coming here and touching that bat.
What?
Yes.
So Jeff
He
McNeil.
changed his bat to Clemente style because of coming here in his rookie year, and I let him swing Clemente's bat.
No way.
You can
that's
ask
so
him.
Cool.
You can
That is
ask him.
so cool.
Yeah.
And he chokes up.
Yep.
Like an old school Tim Foley.
Pete Alonso was going to hit one in the game the other night against the Pirates, and he took it in and had it checked out by they have equipment manager or
Yeah.
somebody that was looking at the wood grain, and he
Yeah.
said you probably shouldn't hit that bat. So I don't know if there's some new rules today that
Okay.
you can't hit certain size, certain
Yeah.
length.
Well, I think it has to be authenticated, right?
Yeah, it has to have
every
that
at-bat
little
has to-
the
little-
grain of the
yeah,
wood.
Yeah, right.
And so Pete said that it would take him about a year of training
To be
to
able to
hit
swing.
one of these bats in a game. And Pete's a big dude.
Yeah. Well, Pujols said the same thing.
Pujols,
right?
same
I mean,
thing.
Albert Pujols, one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Yeah.
Saying the same thing. I love when those guys come here. Who are some of the big names that have come here? I know Posada came here the one time.
Posada was
right?
one of my
Posada showed
first
up.
between batting practice and the game.
And they showed up in the full uniform, right?
Yeah.
Who was it? Posada?
Posada and Molina.
And Molina.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they came and I drove them back to the game. They were almost late for the game. And they're the two catchers. It wasn't like just one of the catchers. Oh, don't worry though.
Oh, Jose Molina.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
And so pretty cool. I mean, Ozzie Guillen spent an afternoon here once. He almost missed the game. He loved this place so much. I mean, I had the whole Padres team this year because of Cervelli and Musgrove brought everybody, and Machado, Hosmer were all swinging the bats.
That's great. They all came.
Yeah, they were.
I saw the Yankees were here the other day because Rizzo obviously, he has a barrel downstairs of
Yeah.
wine. We'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
it looked like Aaron Judge and all those.
He brought
guys
Judge.
were
I
here.
let Judge swing this bat, and even Judge,
What'd
who
he
was
say?
probably the biggest player to ever play the game,
Oh yeah.
said, "No, Dwayne, nobody can hit this
Nobody
bat."
can hit this bat. Isn't that incredible?
But I was like, Clemente was 5'10", 175, and he did it.
5'10",
He did it.
175.
And Dusty Baker, who I gave a tour, said, "Dwayne, where are all the photos of Clemente holding the bat at the base?" And I'm like, "Upstairs." So we go upstairs, and he goes, "I'll bet you $100 every photo he's got to be holding it straight up and down,
Yeah.
because you can't get this like this.
No.
You're never going to get it back to
Yeah.
the position and swing."
You know what's incredible? It's incredible. I did a breakdown on MLB Network of Ronald Acuna. And if you watch Ronald Acuna hit, he kind of has the bat here. And most guys in the big leagues, when they go to hit, they turn the knob back to the catcher. So you turn the knob back to catcher to create this angle, which creates that angle, right? Well, not many guys can do Acuna, holds it right here and goes like this. So then I look at Clemente swing, and that's what Clemente did.
Same
And
way.
he probably did it
Same.
because this bat is so heavy.
Yeah.
Clemente would start it here, and then he would just keep it there and just flatten that out to the zone. I mean, that's incredible leverage that he created with, what did you say, 5'10", 175?
5'10", 175.
Yeah, we're talking Aaron Judge is 6'7", 250 probably.
Yeah.
He's saying no way. We got Clemente, and that's why when you watch Clemente swing, if you can look at this,
so
look
straight
at this
up
right
and
here.
down.
Yeah, look at his swing. He, Clemente was known to get on that
Yeah.
front foot and
Yeah.
really go get the baseball. And you watch his swing right here on 3,000. I mean, look how he's going to get the ball. He catches it out front, but he would always get that back foot off the ground, that back foot drop.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it, you're swinging a 36, 38. You
It's
better get
taking
some
you.
momentum.
It's
Yeah,
taking you
exactly.
there.
It's taking you in there.
Yeah.
So incredible. These bats are incredible. What great stories too, man.
Yeah, the players all get a big kick out of touching it
Yeah.
and swinging.
Yeah.
And You know, when some of the Hall of Fame people came down here for a tour once, they were like, "You let players touch the bats?" I'm like, "What else are they for?"
Yeah.
That's what they're for.
So cool.
And so I tried, tell anybody anything signed, don't touch any signatures, try not to wipe the tar off, but to swing this bat right here and to get the feel of Clemente. They all just love it. And then they go hit one out of the park.
Yeah.
Pujols swung it on a Friday night. Saturday, he hit 2 home runs out of PNC Park.
Wow.
Cruz was over here a couple weeks ago swinging, and he's like, "Please, Roberto, channel some energy to me." The next day, he hit a monster home run. So if it gets in your brain, if it gets in your psyche, you go to the plate going, "I got Clemente's mojo."
Mojo, just say the mojo of Clemente. Yeah, it's real. Yeah, that spirit of him is real too.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And speaking of mojo, you remember the suit?
Oh man, the suit, yes. And now that you say the suit, that reminds me that Clemente was 5'10", 175. When you see the suit,
see the size of it,
and with some style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the coolest suit ever, right?
So what's the story behind the suit? How do you get the suit at this museum?
The family put some things up for auction in Miami at the All-Star Game auction.
Yeah.
And the Pirates had a few pieces over at PNC Park, and they allowed us to have them here on exhibit for a week or so before they went to the auction.
Right.
And Franco Harris come walking in one morning, and we're like, "Franco, check out this suit."
Right.
And he goes, "What's that all about?" And I tell him that it's going to go for auction. And I said, "So are a bunch of things, and I need to buy the film and the negatives and some prints."
Right.
And he goes, "Dwayne, we're going to get that suit. I'm going to write you a check for that suit."
So Franco Harris got this suit? Franco, of course he did.
Yeah.
Of course Franco Harris got the suit.
Because Clemente's wearing it here in Puerto Rico with Bob Prince in 1972. Franco makes the catch in 72, the Immaculate Reception, greatest play in NFL history.
That's right.
As Clemente's,
that's right.
As Clemente's crashing, he's catching, he picks up the torch. And he's been here doing charitable work in Pittsburgh since 1972. Franco's amazing, and he loves it here.
Oh yeah, Franco's been a godsend to this city and all the people. That's amazing. You're right. Clemente passed the torch to Franco
Passed the
Harris.
torch
Incredible.
right there.
What do you got here? Is that Javi Baez?
Yeah.
So Javi Baez is wearing the suit or the jacket.
I put the jacket on. He could have. Now he was here with the Tigers the other day, and they filmed him. I put the jacket on him on video. And he said, "I don't know if I can even fit the jacket." We got the jacket on him.
Right.
He's gained a pound or two. But it gave him some mojo when he put the jacket on after they win the World Series in
with the Cubs, 2016.
17. The whole team comes here. And he's taking a picture with his gray T-shirt, cool gray shoes, and I'm like, I see him lean in, and he's the same shoulder height as Roberto.
Wow.
And I said, and he's Puerto Rican. I said, "Would you want to put the suit on?" And he teared up.
Did he really?
He got so emotional.
I got the chills.
They're all filming video of him, and I take this picture, and then what happens is he got the mojo.
He started raking. He was hitting 500 after touching the suit. And Eduardo Perez picked it up and said, "Hey, he's been raking since he touched the suit. Can we borrow it for the All-Star game?" So I said yes. And Coach Wilson and Josh Wilson take it down to the game. Oh, wow.
And he puts it on, and he's talking about the museum. And the Topps photographer, that's his baseball card.
Oh, my gosh.
It's 2019.
It's 2019 Topps.
Yeah. How about that?
With the Clemente jacket on. That's incredible.
Graded a 10.
Graded a 10.
What else is more important than a 10?
Incredible.
So it went viral twice.
Wow, that's incredible. Is there anything else up in this room?
Oh.
This is pretty cool.
How about, I don't know if,
what else you got?
How about gold gloves?
You like gold gloves? How many did he have?
He wins 12 in a row, and there's 12 cubby holes here, and someday I'm going to have all 12 right here.
Wow.
So if you have one out there, call me. I want to get him here for an event.
Where did you get, did Vera give you these?
Vera, so the 71 is on loan from the Clemente family.
Okay.
But the other two, we picked this one up at an auction. Jimmy Miller.
Wow.
Jimmy Miller, Dennis Miller's brother, got this one for us and got it here.
Wow.
Yeah. So to have a couple of his gold gloves. We have Willie Stargell's World Series trophy because Roberto's vanished. We don't know where Clemente was the MVP of the 71 World Series, and no one's ever seen his trophy. Wow. And he would have a full size because when you're the MVP back then, you got a full size one.
Right.
Nobody knows where it is. So we're hoping it comes here someday too, somehow.
Yeah.
But we keep, adding little pieces in here. We got some Dapper Dan awards. We've got his MVP of the 71 World Series award up there.
Take us back to that really quick, because 71, the World Series, he dies
in 72.
In 72.
Yeah.
So he plays one more year. But But that 71 World Series, when he was the MVP, he was 37, right?
Yep.
Wasn't it big for him? Wasn't there a little chip on his shoulder to say, hey, listen, people need to, because back then, if you're on the World Series, you're really showcased.
Yeah.
People, they get a chance to really see you play.
Yep.
And I heard Roberto in that World Series was like, I'm going to show you who Roberto Clemente is.
Yes. And it's because Pittsburgh's a small market.
Right.
There'd be some times where there'd be one camera on a game here. He'd do something incredible. Nobody
knows about it. Yeah.
And so it's crickets, right?
Yeah.
Well, now it's 71 World Series, Baltimore against those guys, the 4 aces, 20-game winners.
That's right.
Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Boo Powell. Right. So he goes, I'm going to go down and show them who I am. And they say that it could be the greatest performance ever in a World Series.
Wow.
He hits in all 7 games, homers, doubles. He wins a couple games by himself. Right. I mean, he was the man. So now the whole world's watching, and that's how we've got probably 50-60% of all our Clemente fanatics that come here are from all over the country, all over the world.
Right.
And they saw him play in a 71 World Series. And then they became fans because you saw that guy just killing it.
Right.
And they became, fans. He's the MVP. He gets the orange Charger that was already painted for a Baltimore Oriole. It was Baltimore Oriole orange.
Right.
But he's the
They gave it to
MVP.
Clemente.
And they're like, wait a minute, wait.
Do you know what he did with that? With that car?
Yeah, we've had it here for 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Who has it?
So right now it's owned by a guy in Daytona Beach, Florida. His name's Randy Dye. He's a Pittsburgher that moved down there and got into Chrysler dealership.
Right.
And so came here, we talked about the car, and then the family put it up for auction in Miami.
Wow.
And he bought it and he restored it. And he allows us to have it here once in a while for an event.
That's really cool.
And it's gorgeous.
That's
it's a
awesome.
440 Magnum motor. I tell people you can open up the hood on that Charger and you can put a Mini Cooper right inside. It's freaking hood's like 8 feet long. I mean, it's amazing.
That's incredible.
And it was here one year when the Washington Nationals brought the team bus and 30 guys came, and that's when Harper was on the Nats.
Oh yeah.
Davey Martinez brought the crew over.
I'm sure, because one thing I love about Bryce Harper is he's a historian of the game. His dad has passed that down to him. He knows so much. I'm sure he loved this place because of the history of Clemente.
Yeah.
But you've had a lot of different guys come here, and you have it, documented upstairs of all the guys that have come. I'd love to go upstairs and see, and we could talk a little bit about some of the guys that have come here.
Okay, let's go take a look.
Okay. All right, now we're up in the bunkhouse. This is where Lou Gehrig slept that night, 1927, right?
Right here.
Why wouldn't you want to sleep here? It's like a nice suite. It's like a Westin suite out here.
Yeah.
So we were talking about Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
I see him here. Take us through who's been here, Dwayne. This is such a cool thing. This is so Dwayne Reeder. I mean, this guy is the ultimate artist. And this is an American flag that you created, obviously, with these balls. Can you take us through some of the players that have been here?
Yeah. Well, after it taking a year to make, it took me a year to paint the balls. I painted all the red balls and blue balls, and baseballs aren't cheap. Right. This cost me a small fortune. Yeah. So then I thought, a guy gave me this table. I thought, I'm going to make a cool piece of art out of it and put it in this table. And then Albert Pujols rolls in here, opening day of 2007.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And he's my first.
And who brings him in here?
Roberto Jr. brought him over.
Roberto Jr. brings him.
Yeah. And so he came, I asked him to sign a ball, and I told him it'll stay here forever. And then he gets traded shortly after that from the Cardinals to the Angels. I got him on a red ball with the Angels. And then last year he came with the Dodgers with Dave Roberts and Will Smith, and he signed a blue one for Dodgers, and now back to the Cardinals. Yeah. So pretty cool. And so we've been lucky, and there's Harper right here. There's the Posada, Pujols, and then it goes Giancarlo Stanton, Judge.
We got
Judge.
That's your most recent one.
Yeah, so that's a fresh one right there.
Awesome.
That's a fresh one. Yeah, and then Machado.
Pete
Alonso, my man.
And Alonso loves this place. Huh?
Yeah, we're going to get him the Clemente Award next year because he does so much for charity. I told him we're going to team up, the three of us, and get him the Clemente Award.
Awesome.
Get him to the top. And Nick Castellanos, really nice kid.
Nick's great.
Nick's the best. Hosmer. We got Clayton Kershaw came here in his rookie year. I wasn't even going to ask him to sign a baseball. I didn't even know who he was. He was just some kid.
Really?
Yeah, they tagged along with a couple the other guys.
I knew who he was because that year in the spring training in 2008, I was the first big leaguer Clayton Kershaw ever faced. I remember going out there and I asked Terry Francona, hey, who's this guy? Some rookie off the backfield. I believe he was number 98. I go out there, Dwayne, 98 outside black, hook, see you later. right? And I look over at Joe Torre and Larry Bow, and they're giggling. They obviously know something I don't know. I'm like, oh my gosh, who's this kid? He comes up when you signed this autograph for you, starts dominating the big leagues, and I'm like, feel so much better about myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, it was my last year in the big leagues. This kid's 19.
And was he doing that crazy?
Dude, double pumping, double clutching. I'm like, that kid's gonna be unbelievable. Turns out one of the greatest lefties of all time.
Of all time.
Incredible.
The man. Yeah. So I'm lucky he signed something.
So you got Rizzo too, Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, Rizzo.
Vern Wall, Mazeroski.
Yep. These are all
There's
the.
so many great guys.
Yeah.
So, but the one night, we had Ed Vedder come in the one night when Pearl Jam played in 2013. We had dinner. I got Bill Mazeroski to come in. Jason Grilli came down.
Yep.
Jeff Ament came in, who was the bassist for Pearl Jam.
Yep.
And then Steve Blass told
was
some
here.
unbelievable stories.
Yeah.
And then it was just such a wonderful night. George Webb came in. Later
George
in the
Webb
night.
was here. Yeah.
Such a great night, and we presented Ed with
the helmet.
With
the
batting
helmet.
The batting helmet from Roberto Clemente back in 1970.
You got it for him as a gift.
Yeah, incredible, man. Still one of his favorite things that he has to this day. But take us through this row right here. Looks like a pretty interesting row.
Yeah.
I see Bruno Sammartino, who's I'm a big wrestling fan. He's a WWF champion back then.
Bruno bought a barrel wine here, and we used to come and sit and drink down in the cellar, and was just the nicest guy in the world. And when he grabbed your hand with those meat hooks, you're just like, holy cow. And he was incredible. And then, so we got Eddie Vedder, we got Eddie Palmieri.
Yep.
Smokey Robinson had him here 5 times. What a beautiful person, loves baseball. Ben Folds. Huey Lewis.
Huey Lewis came. When did he come?
Huey Lewis was just here because he's doing his documentary film on saving the wetlands out in the middle of the country, and did a beautiful job. Yeah, he's great because he's down in the cellar. We do a dinner for him downstairs, and we're going to go there in a minute. Yeah. And he's sitting and he's talking. He goes, well, you built this damn shrine to Eddie Vedder here. If he wasn't the nicest guy in the world, I'd be pissed at you. He goes, you're going to build a shrine for me? He goes, I'll send you a couple of gold albums. And I'm like, oh, God, that's so funny.
I want a new drug. One that won't make me sick. Remember, that's great. There's so many good songs.
You look him up, how many hits he had.
The News was the best.
Yeah, he was the man. And he loves baseball. He loves the Giants. He's a Giants fan. Tom Morello.
Tom Morello. What a great story that is. So I called Ed and I said, hey, Bruce Springsteen's in town, and Morello at the time was playing with the Boss. So I called Ed and I said, hey man, Tom's a big baseball fan, as is a lot of the guys in that band, and Ed called them to say, why don't you guys go to the Clemente Museum? We met up with them afterwards at the hotel, and then we came here and we were here really late. I think we were here at like 3 a.m. Sorry for keeping you up.
No, but he came in with he had a Chicago Cubs hat on, and he come in and he was real low key, right? Yeah. And I'm like, who's this guy, right? I don't even ask him to sign the baseball because I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
And so you said his name, but it didn't mean anything. It just didn't register.
Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. So I text my nephew and he goes, hey, dumbass, he's only like the greatest guitar player in America.
Ever, yeah.
I'm like, I better get him to sign a baseball. And now he loves this place and he wears our shirt just like Ed, and we'll wear a hat. And
so cool. Awesome. Well, it's funny because the 21, when you watch Pearl Jam, 21 shirt, that's a Clemente shirt. I don't know if people
know. A lot of people don't put it together.
Right. So.
Yeah, but the word is out now.
Well, we just went and saw him at Madison Square Garden and saw Pearl Jam, and a ton of people in the crowd are wearing that jersey. So it's pretty cool.
Well, what I do now is I tell people, if Ed sees them, sometimes he'll call them out. He'll ask where you're from. Yeah. He'll throw them a tambourine, or he'll give them a playlist or something. So I said, wear it and get to the front, and Ed might take care of you.
Well, you know what's cool about Ed? He's a historian. He loves the game. The game has given him a lot. Jose Cardinal, all the Cubs, all those guys. Jose Cardinal just went into the Cubs Hall of Fame. So like when Ed came here, I got the chills.
Yeah.
When he put that helmet on, out there when they played here in Pittsburgh in 2013 and sang Yellow Ledbetter, and with that helmet on, incredible stuff.
Yeah, you and I were crying.
Yeah, that was awesome. So who else do we got? Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang, yeah. How about that?
Is that the RZA?
Yeah,
the
RZA.
Steve Carell.
5 hours, baseball nut, loved it here, drank some wine.
So great.
Benicio del Toro.
Wow.
Puerto Rican, was from Santurce, where we're going. We're going to talk about Santurce Crabbers. He's from there.
Michael Keaton.
I
mean, huge Pittsburgh guy.
Does it get any better than Michael?
That.
Bob Costas.
Historian
of all historians. Is there anybody that knows any more than Bob Costas?
No, I work with Bob.
It's nobody.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so I've been lucky. Jimmy Leland, your buddy, Jimmy Leland.
Jimmy Leland, the best.
Yeah.
The best.
Tony Dungy wore number 21 when he played for the Steelers because of Roberto Clemente.
Did he really? Wow, that's incredible.
And he said he would go and hang out with the Pirates because he said Chuck Noll's locker room was so kind of uptight and quiet.
Right.
He'd go hang over with Clemente,
they'd be
Stargell, and Doc Ellis.
Oh my God, they're partying over there.
Yeah.
Also too, Sid Crosby.
Sid Crosby.
Pretty cool.
Good kid, yeah.
Dusty Baker.
Dusty.
Orlando Cepeda, who was good.
My
good
first
friends,
tour for opening in
who was good friends
2000.
with Clemente, right?
They were tight. So can you imagine? There's my first tour. Orlando Cepeda, Juan Marichal. And I had to give them a tour about their friend. And I was shaking.
Oh, dude,
I was
chilling out
shaking.
right now.
And it was like,
Incredible.
but it was awesome. Those are two good guys. And they're both wine guys because they played for the Giants and lived in Napa Valley. So I poured them the Dago Red downstairs and they were like,
so thankful for that. So great. What's the story? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. remind me to talk about the Clemente red wine story.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's in the picture over here.
Yeah.
Let's,
it's over here.
Let's
Come on,
the
let's
story.
go.
Let's tell the story right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Because this is really cool. I coming here all these years, you just told this story recently. We're going to go down to your winery in a second, which is downstairs in the bottom of this place. But can you talk about Clemente and red wine, which is even crazier that you make the greatest red wine around. You know, you got to get. We'll have to talk about how people can get your wine too.
Yeah.
You make the greatest red wine, but Clemente only drank red wine, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I get to find out when I put these photos on the wall for an exhibit, and Vera comes on a tour, and we get right here, and we're looking at these photos, and she's loving them because, you know, Manny's half naked, and they're in the locker room, and these are behind the scenes stuff. Everybody sees the sports stuff.
Right.
Here's Roberto the man behind the scenes, and she goes, "Oh, Dwayne, you know Roberto, he only drank the homemade red wine." I mean, I almost pass out. I'm like, "Vera, I've been sending you wine to Puerto Rico for 10 years. You never told me that story." She goes, "I never thought about it till I saw this photo." And I'm like, "No, he's got champagne or something in that glass." She goes, "Look between his fingers." I never even paid attention to it. There he is. There's the winemaker, Tony Bartolo.
And that was his friend, right? Tell us about that story, the relationship with him.
Well, when Roberto gets here in the 50s, there's no Puerto Ricans here.
Right. Pittsburgh,
The
1950.
Italians take him in. The Italians, Tony Bartolone takes him home to the Hill District, to his father's house where he made wine. And you go to Italian dinner, you sit and you eat everything they put in front of you, and you drink the wine, or else you get that knife, right? So Roberto's probably shaken, and he really wasn't a drinker.
Right.
But they were like, "Come on, you got to drink the wine." And so he had a little, and he started liking it. And then I get to meet Tony. Once Vera tells me the story, I get on a plane with a couple bottles of Clemente Cabernet and flew to Bradenton, Florida, where Tony was living. He's passed now.
And did he tell you any stories about Roberto?
Yeah. So I go to Tony. First of all, he sees the Clemente Cabernet has the angel wings photo on it. He almost had a stroke when he saw that. And I tell him I'm running a museum in Pittsburgh, and I'm friends with the family. And Vera tells me the story, and she said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's right, Dwayne. My father and I made wine at our house in the Hill District. Roberto would come for dinner. We'd drink the Dago red wine," that's what they called it, and I'm half Italian, so I'm allowed to say
you're allowed to,
Dago. Right. So they would drink the Dago red wine, very simple, kind of, you know, the plowman's lunch of wines. It's real, you know, earthy, and it was, you know, kind of cheaper grapes that could be shipped from California here back on a train back in the day. And they started, all the Italians started doing it during Prohibition. So they became, you know, good at making the wine. Roberto starts liking it, and I was like, "Wow, that's amazing. You guys would have some, you know, some wine after a game or something like that." He goes, "And once in a while in the locker room." And I'm like, "Wait, whoa, Tony, no." He goes, "Yeah, once in a while he'd come in and say, 'Tony, give me 2-finger little hit.'" He goes, then he'd go rap out a triple. It was just like, oh my God, Tony, that's the best story I've ever heard.
That's so great.
So then, it's now the 40th year anniversary of the 71 World Series, which we just had the 50. Tony got on a plane and came up here for this anniversary, and came here on a tour, and then we sat and he told me some more stories. So it's all been confirmed. He made the wine for Roberto. Roberto was Puerto Rican. He didn't drink rum. He wouldn't go drinking with the guys and drink beer. He didn't want to go to a bar and drink beer. It just wasn't his cup of tea. You know, so he would have a little red wine just to be social, just a little tiny bit.
That's incredible.
And now I'm good friends with Luis Mayorel. He goes, I got red wine in my paper cup. He goes, Jose Pagan, red wine. There they are. Then the judge.
So who's Luis?
Luis Mayorel was one of Roberto's best friends. He's Puerto Rican. he traveled with Roberto, and they were planning Sports City. They're planning Roberto's dream of building the sports complex in Puerto Rico, and he's dictating all Roberto's thoughts and notes. Wow. And he's going to help him draw it out and map out how they're going to do it. And then he dies, and Roberto dies. And so they don't ever get to start it. Vera starts Sports City in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Help of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Pittsburghers did a fundraiser here at Heinz Hall, and Mrs. Heinz gave money. Richard Nixon. Yeah. Richard Nixon writes the first check for $1,000.
Oh my!
From his personal account, not the White House account.
That's incredible.
Pretty cool.
That's incredible.
So to learn this, to get have this photo, to learn that, get that story from Vera and Tony before they passed, is the real story.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One other part of this room that I absolutely love is the winter ball. I mean, a lot of guys go home. A lot of Latinos, when they go home, and whether you're in Dominican, Venezuela, or Puerto Rico, they go home and play for the hometown team. Yep. I almost think for these guys, this is the big leagues for them. So when Roberto goes back to Puerto Rico to play at Santurce and to play at San Juan, right? Could talk about that a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, he played winter ball his whole career, his whole life in Puerto Rico. He's playing. Right. He signs a contract. We have his first contract ever. 52, 53. He's a rookie in 55 for the Pirates, but he starts playing with Santurce Crabbers in 52, 53 and plays next to Willie Mays.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
Come
so
on.
Willie's a couple years older than him.
Is Willie a big leaguer yet, or is he still in the...
Yeah, he's Rookie of the Year in 52.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look up Willie, he's just a little older than Roberto.
Incredible.
And they're paying him $40 a week. $40 a week. But that's something back then.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's better than making $10 a week in the sugarcane fields where he was working for his father. So that's definitely better.
Okay.
So this is incredible, and it was at the Smithsonian. They have Latinos in baseball show at the Smithsonian right now.
Wow.
They had my jersey. Here's the last jersey he ever touches. So after he gets his 3,000th hit in Pittsburgh, he goes back and plays and manages for the San Juan Senators.
Oh, wow.
So this is one of the last photos. This is taken a couple of days before the flight to Nicaragua. So I have the last jersey he ever touched, and it's photo matched. I have
Where did you get this? Where did you get this?
That's been all around the planet. It left the island probably in the late 80s. I meet a guy that thinks it's maybe a fake.
Right.
And basically gives it to me. And it's because back in those days, they needed to have a sponsor on the back of the team. They couldn't afford to have the player's name. And so the guy's like, well, this should say Clemente. Nope, it actually should say Bacardi Rum was the sponsor in 72. And if you hold it up to the sunlight, it says Bacardi Rum on it.
My gosh.
The year before it was India Beer, so they always had a new sponsor each year, so they would take the letters off.
Wow.
So he thought this was fake. Well, I can tell you one thing. No one on the island's wearing 21. No one on Roberto's team is going to wear 21 but him. And so we have it now documented. We have a photo match to Roberto wearing that.
That was it.
Yeah, so this is a really, really cool piece. But nothing's better than this story right here.
Yeah, how about this story?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this contract right here is the Pittsburgh Pirates paying him $20,000 to not play for the San Juan Senators. Wow. He's allowed to manage the team and not play, right? In 70, 71, 72, we're duking it out with the Big Red Machine, and we're trying to get to the World Series all 3 of those years. Yeah. They're paying him $20,000 to be the manager, to not go down there and twist his ankle or throw out his arm.
Yeah.
And so he does. He doesn't play in the regular season. I just learned a story from my buddy Jorge Lopez, who came here a couple of days ago and said that he played in the playoffs in 72.
He did. He's like, listen,
he snuck in a couple of games. We got to win. And I think it was against Santurce. And if you talk, there's like Reggie Jackson's on that team. If you look up the two rosters for those 2 teams, they're half, guys that are playing in the big leagues.
Right.
It's amazing, because on this team, there's Manny Sanguillen.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Cash.
Oh, yeah.
Freddie Patek.
Wow.
Neil Walker's dad.
Tom Walker.
Tom Walker, I believe, is right there.
Yeah. Well, the story of Tom Walker almost boarding that flight. I mean, we know that's
amazing.
Incredible.
It's amazing. So this is pretty cool to have, some of this stuff of what he's doing at home in Puerto Rico when the season's over.
That's awesome. That's
pretty
awesome.
neat.
All right. We talked about this. First off, Dwayne, thank you so much for having this. Is incredible.
Yeah.
We talked about that red wine right there, and we were talking about how you make some of the greatest wine in the world.
Yeah.
Let's go downstairs and take a look at.
Let's go down.
What that's all about.
Perfect.
All right, now we're down in, I think, one of the coolest rooms around. I mean, this place is so cool, everything, but this is a place where you make your own wine. There's a winery down here. So many great stories. One of the stories is, this is where we came down. We brought Ed, and Steve Blass and Jeff Amen, that Maz, and it was just an unbelievable dinner.
Right here.
Big dinner here.
Boom.
We had a private chef come in, cook us some steaks, some risotto.
Yeah.
What a great night.
It's a hell of a night.
What a great night that was. But
Yeah.
Tell us about, before we even get into the wine stuff. I mean, this is you've married the Clemente Museum with your love of wine to really support this place, right? To keep this place going. You can buy a barrel,
we started a club called Clemente Society.
Yeah.
And you can buy a barrel of wine, which then you get your own label, you can pick your varietal of wine, and the check is written to the Clemente Museum, which is a 501c3, so you get a little tax break.
Great. I've written that check
3 times. You remember 3 times over.
Back in, too.
Yeah. You and Carlos Beltran, 3 each.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've had, Ed's got a barrel now. So Ed, you hooked me up with Ed, and he bought a barrel because he came and loved the wine. He loves wine and baseball other than music. Those are his 2 loves. Yeah. And so now when the guys come, I try to get ahead of it. We never know who's coming and who's not coming when the team's coming over. So the Yankees are in town. Jamison Tyon, hits me up and says, hey, I'm going to come. We're going to have some pizza and wine. Get your pizza maker. And I don't know who's here till they're in the parking lot, and he says Rizzo and Judge and Garrett Cole, they're all on the bus, they all came, and Judge walks in and he sees that baby. Wow. And I made 2 of them, and they're sitting there on the table, and he goes, wait, where'd those come from? And I was like, well, I made them today. There's one for you and there's one for me if you sign one for the museum. So when he walked out of here that night, he was carrying, it was like his little baby.
Yeah, it's so great.
So it's pretty neat.
It is such a cool perk to have your name on a bottle of wine.
And if you like wine and it's good, and so they tasted, we went through all our Cabernets, and Garrett Cole and Tyon are wine snobs.
Yes.
They spend all their off time drinking good wines. So I opened my 17 Cabernet, my 18 Cabernet, my 16, then the Rizzo, which was 14. But then we went to the Holy Grail, the Cervelli Cabernet, which is my best wine. It's 2013. It was made in these Hungarian oak barrels, which Les Banos, Clemente's best friend, the photographer, was Hungarian and has all these tie-ins. Cool. And it made this magic wine that tastes like Cardinal, the very famous wine in Napa Valley. And so we had that in a decanter, and they were all like, "Woo, what's that?" And I was like, "That's the Mac Daddy." And Garrett Cole said, "Pour it." So I just started pouring everybody some, and it was silence. They were all just like,
so good.
You made this? And I'm like, yeah, I made it right here.
Awesome.
But I tell people it's Clemente and the big guy upstairs making the wine good, so we can keep the Clemente Museum going by getting the Clemente Society kind of cruising. And so
great.
I just move the wine around. I don't, I'm a photographer. What do I know about making wine? But someone's making these wines good, and I think it's from upstairs.
I think you're making them good, dude.
Well,
it's a combination.
I help.
Combination.
And Pujols joined our club. He doesn't even drink.
Yeah.
And he bought 2 barrels just to support his charity.
Oh, that's great.
And so it's a very charitable thing. And I've got 5 Clemente Award recipients in our club.
Oh, that's
we made wine for Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
Rizzo won the Clemente Award. The wine helped him win the award. He deserved it 100%. But the wine, it makes a nice piece for them to sign. This in an auction right now, that's probably $5,000.
Oh, easily.
Right? The wine can compound from a $100 bottle to a couple $1,000.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty neat.
That is really cool.
And then once in a while they'll bring me a bat, sign a ball.
How'd you get the game used judge bat?
Well, I let them swing that. I let them swing that 38 ouncer on the field. So I let them swing the bats.
Oh, okay.
Jack Marucci would make them for me.
Well, Victus is also Marucci.
Oh, really?
Marucci bought Victus.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They own Victus. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he hands me that bat after hitting Clemente's 38 ouncer.
Wow, that's cool.
And he goes, "Hey, Dwayne, I hit 10 bombs with that bat."
Is that what he said?
That's from this year. 10 bombs from this year.
That's awesome.
And I said, "No, I'm not asking you for that bat. I'm not asking for old Betsy. I just wanted a bat that you hit in batting practice." He goes, "No, I want you to have a good one."
Wow, so he hit 10 homers.
10 bombs with that bat. Harold Reynolds goes, "Why would you ever give that bat up? He hit 10 bombs with it."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then Albert I was telling you the story where he swings Clemente's bat, gets a little extra mojo, hits 2 in the river, and then he gave this to me.
Wow.
So
that's that home run. Is that he hit home runs like 695, 696?
No, back before that, the time before that they came, which
but
maybe
that's the bat he hit
2 to set the record for the oldest player in MLB history to hit 2 homers in a game.
That's incredible. I love how he put the 3-time MVP, 2,000 ribbies, 3,600 homers. Is that good? Those are good numbers?
Yeah.
Can we take a look over
Yeah,
here?
let's go see Rizzo's barrels right here.
So you got some of the barrels here. You got Rizzo's barrel. Pete Alonso has a barrel.
Alonso.
Pretty cool.
Loves wine.
Yeah.
He honeymooned in Italy, and he really got into these Chianti wines, and I make a nice Chianti, and so I'm making him a special wine. Franco Harris has bought 2 barrels. He's trying to catch you.
Yeah.
Mario bought my first barrel ever. Right, we got the Pittsburgh legends, Clemente, Lemieux, and Harris. Doesn't get any better than that. Ichiro, the coolest thing of my life.
Did Ichiro buy one?
The Florida Marlins starting 9, Giancarlo Stanton, Yelich, Riamuto, they all chipped together and bought him a barrel for getting his 3,000.
Oh, that's so cool.
3,000, yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's cool. Josh Bell, you know, Angel. He's an unbelievable person. Yasmani Grandel, Cervelli, Yachty. I've got some good guys in the club, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, let's go look at another part of this place. It's really cool.
Yeah.
We a lot of history here too, man. A lot of history in this room. Such a cool space. So here we are. We're gonna finish it off, Dwayne. This used to be your old, right, photography, dark room for photography, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you decided to make it the cigar room. Wow.
Well, it had ventilation, so I used to have a big sink here with a hood and ventilation for the chemicals.
Yeah.
And I was ripping it out to make it a wine room, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Franco Harris and Mario Lemieux both said, hey, where can we smoke a cigar one day? And I'm like, I don't need another project, but I thought, and I don't smoke, but I thought, hey, the guys, once in a while want to smoke a cigar. So I started putting this together, and now it gives me a good place to put some of my Pearl Jam posters. And
that picture right there is pretty cool too, of Ed and Bill Mazeroski. We were smoking cigars in this room, and Ed Maz, Ed had a Maz helmet for years.
Pulled it out of his backpack. And Maz was like, what the hell?
Yeah, what an unbelievable night. Dude, I mean, this is an unbelievable place. And I think the celebration of this place, Dwayne, the celebration of the Clemente Museum, what you've done for all these years, how you keep it going with the Clemente Society, and, keeping Roberto Clemente's legacy going here in Pittsburgh. I know it's huge for everyone here, but also all the Latino community and what he means really worldwide and who he was as a man. So
people will come here from Puerto Rico, and I'm like, oh, you're here for the game? No, we came here just to see this. I'm like, oh, you got to catch a game at PNC Park, and sometimes they'll do and go. It's easy to get tickets, so they'll pop down to the park. But a lot of Puerto Ricans will come here just to see the museum. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it's a special place. How can people get involved here? How can we support?
Yeah.
How can our listeners and all the listeners out there support you and the Roberto Clemente Museum?
Yeah, I mean, I would just go to our website, clementemuseum.com, and take a look and scroll around. It's a pretty cool site too. Buy some merchandise. You can, there's a area where you can click on a link to get to, I think it's called Mobile Cause, where you can actually make a donation. Okay. We tell people, if you just donate $21, I want to start a movement in baseball. If we can get every baseball player just to donate us $21, we're not asking for giant money from any one person, but I think if there's so many Clemente people and so many people that love this guy, if we all just gave $21, we could build our elevator. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. It could be small money. We don't
$21.
$21.
$21. And we can get that elevator built, and we can keep this place going and keep Roberto's legacy going on.
Yeah, we want to keep it alive. Keep the candle burning.
Keep the candle burning, brother. You are a great friend.
I
love you, man, and I'm very grateful to be here and looking forward to our relationship as the years come on. And happy to have you inside the mayor's office, man. This is probably a big one for you.
Yeah, you can start doing all your shows right here. This should be the mayor's office.
All our shows from the Clemente Museum. So, all right, brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh my God, Sean. First of all, again, I've been thanking Sean for like 3 days for this brilliant idea that he did, and this is how much effort he puts into this show and how much he cares about you fans and how much he cares about what he does. And first of all, amazing interview. I don't even know where to begin. And again, Sean mentioned at the top, you got to watch this on YouTube. The propeller of the plane from Roberto Clemente. Just take a case. Like, what was this experience
just
like for
incredible. Yeah, man. I mean, I hope everyone enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed doing it. The stories that Dwayne has, the history from Clemente, that propeller of the plane, the picture that he has with the angel wings in the background, the winery downstairs, the stories of, Ed Vedder and the Aaron Judges of the world and Tom Morello's and Steve Carell's, all those guys. Just the stories are incredible. The place is legendary. And like I said, if you ever come to Pittsburgh, take the time to go out to Roberto Clemente Museum. It is a one-of-a-kind place where the history of Roberto Clemente lives. And not only that, just so much of the history of baseball. So it was a great time, bro.
Dude.
I wish you were with me when you come to Pittsburgh, brother. It's the first place we're going.
Absolutely.
We're going to go out there and have a great time, man.
And retire his number fucking already, right? Retire his number.
Well, I think that's where they're people are trying to move in that direction to retire 21. So
Let's
then
go.
My number would be retired too. So let's go.
Let's go, Case. Amazing job. This is how much this guy loves you guys and your fans, and how passionate he is about bringing this kind of stuff to you. So, Sean, I got to say thank you. When you thought of this idea, I was like, man, this is unbelievable, and I hope you folks at home appreciate how much we appreciate it, and I'm so thankful for this, buddy. So everybody, like and subscribe, do your thing, subscribe.
Subscribe, download, tell your friends, all that stuff. Let's keep growing, everybody. Mayor's Office, bringing you the best guests and the best on location stuff ever. We'll see you guys next week. See you, Chance. Love you, brother.
Love you.